The tortoise returned home very early, before anyone in the forest could see him. The morning was still quiet, and the other animals were yet to wake up. He hurried into his compound, holding the special drum tightly. Hello guys, welcome to Moonlight Tales by Uju. Please subscribe to UJ Moonlight Tales channel, like and share for more interesting tales. Thank you. The title of my tale is The Magic Drum That Punished the Greedy. Long time ago, when all the animals used to live together in peace, even the small of them had a voice. They were always blessed by the King of the Sky with lovely goodies and gifts. One bright morning, news spread across the forest that the King of the Sky had a special gift for all the animals on earth. The animals were filled with excitement, from the biggest elephant to the tiniest ant. Everyone wanted to know what the gift could be. They all gathered in the thick forest for a big meeting under the tall iroko tree. The birds filled the branches, and every creature took its place to listen. The lion, who was the leader of the animals, stood up and roared gently to call for silence. He said in a deep, proud voice, "My friends, the King of the Sky has a special gift for us, but he said we must send 3 animals to come and collect it. What do we think?" The animals began to whisper amongst themselves. Before anyone could speak, the tortoise raised his hand and said, "I will go." The animals nodded slowly. Everyone knew the tortoise liked to be a part of important things. Then they chose 2 others to join him: the snail, who was gentle and kind, and the owl, who was wise and could fly high. The 3 animals agreed to start their journey early the next morning. The tortoise, who always liked to sound important, cleared his throat and said, "Let's meet here before the cock crows. That way, we will come back before nightfall." The owl blinked sleepily and nodded. "I'll try," he said, rubbing his eyes. "You know I don't see very well in the daytime." The snail slowly lifted his head and smiled. "No problem, we will start moving so early." But deep within himself, the tortoise was already planning a trick. He knew the owl could not see clearly in the daytime, while the snail is way too slow in movement. At nightfall, when the forest was silent and other animals were asleep, the tortoise quietly began his journey alone. He walked through the forest and climbed the hill to reach the sky. When the tortoise finally arrived at the gate of the sky, he was tired but excited. The place was bright and beautiful, filled with shining clouds and golden lights. Suddenly, the King of the Sky's servants appeared and blocked his way. They looked at him carefully and asked, "Are you the only delegate from the animal kingdom?" The tortoise paused for a moment. Then, without thinking, he quickly lied. "Yes, I am the only one chosen to come." The servants looked at each other silently, as they were thinking deeply. After a moment, they nodded slowly. "Very well," one of them said. They stepped aside and led the tortoise through the gates, taking him straight to meet the King of the Sky. As the tortoise walked behind them, a smile crept across his face. His trick had worked. When the tortoise stood before the King of the Sky, his heart was beating fast. The king looked down at him with calm and wise eyes. The king spoke. his voice deep and powerful. "Tell me, Mr. Tortoise, are you the only one delegated by the animals?" But the tortoise did not hesitate. He quickly bowed his head and said, "Yes, Your Majesty, I am the only one chosen to come." Without wasting time, the king signaled his servants. They brought forward a beautiful drum, shining with bright colors and decorated with cowries. The tortoise's eyes widened with excitement. The king added firmly, "Remember, this gift is for all the animals, not for you alone." The tortoise quickly bowed. "Thank you, great king," he said. He collected the drum, turned, and began his journey back to earth, his mind already racing with secret thoughts. The tortoise returned home very early before anyone in the forest could see him. The morning was still quiet, and the other animals were yet to wake up. He hurried into his compound, holding the special drum tightly. "Come, come," he whispered to his family. They gathered around him with curious eyes. "Look at what I brought," the tortoise said proudly as he showed them the drum. His family gasped in amazement. "This is a gift from the king of the sky," he said in a low voice. "But listen carefully. This must be our secret. No one else must know about this." His family nodded quickly, their eyes shining with excitement. Without wasting time, the tortoise placed the drum on the ground and beat it. Immediately, food appeared: hot yam, delicious soup, fresh fruits, roasted meats, cold water. There was more than enough for everyone. The tortoise and his family laughed with joy as they ate and ate until they were full. Then they packed the remaining food and kept it safely for themselves. The tortoise smiled to himself. "This drum," he whispered, "will make us proud, will make us the happiest family in this forest." But deep down, he knew he was hiding something that was meant for all. Early the next morning, just as they had agreed, the owl and the snail made their way to the big iroko tree. They waited. The sun climbed higher into the sky. Morning turned into afternoon. Still, the tortoise did not show up. The owl flapped his wings and looked worried. "This is not right," he said. "The tortoise couldn't miss such an important journey." The snail sighed slowly. "I fear something is wrong." At nightfall, the snail and the owl became tired of waiting. With heavy hearts, they slowly returned to their homes. Days later, all the animals gathered again under the big iroko tree for another meeting. This time, the lion stood up and looked directly at the tortoise. "Mr. Tortoise," he said, "why did you not show up for the important journey?" The tortoise quickly lowered his head and pretended to be weak. "I was very sick," he said softly. The animals looked at one another. They felt sorry for him. "All right," the lion said, "we will fix another day." But when the new day was announced, the tortoise spoke again. "I am not still well. I cannot make the journey." So the animals chose another person. The dog was chosen. On the day of the journey, the dog bent down and gently carried the snail on his back. The owl spread his wings and flew above them. Together, they moved quickly through the forest and beyond, heading towards the sky. The journey was faster this time. At last, they arrived at the gate of the Sky Kingdom. The king's servants appeared and asked them, "What do you want?" The owl stepped forward and spoke. "We are delegates from the animal kingdom. We have come to receive the gifts the king of the sky promised us." The servants looked surprised. "But the tortoise was here some days ago," they said. The owl and his team looked at each other in shock. The servants then led them inside to meet the king of the sky. When they stood before the king, he looked at them with calm eyes. "Yes," the king said, "the tortoise came here before you. I gave him a special drum, and I told him to gather all the animals to share its blessings." The owl bowed respectfully and said, "My king, the tortoise did not show us any drum. Neither did he agree to have come here before we did. He is claiming to be sick for some time now." The king's face grew serious. "I see," he said. He then turned to his servants. "Bring me another drum." They brought out a second beautiful drum, shining even brighter than the first. The king handed it over to them and said, "Take this one. Gather all the animals. Beat the drum so that everyone may enjoy." He then paused and added firmly, "As for the drum I gave to the tortoise, it has ceased to work." The owl, the snail, and the dog bowed deeply. "Thank you, great king," they said. With grateful hearts, they turned and began their journey back to the earth, ready to bring joy to all the animals. When they returned to the forest before the evening, they did not waste any time, so they gathered all the animals. The owl was shouting, "The gift from the king of the sky is here. Come one, come all." The animals rushed in from every corner of the forest. Everyone was curious. The tortoise heard the noise from his compound. Out of shame and pride, he told his family not to go, as they have their own drum. The lion stepped forward and said, "The owl and his team have brought the gift from the king of the sky." The owl nodded calmly, "Yes, we have." Then he added, looking around at the animals, "But first, you must know the truth." The forest became silent. The dog continued, "The king told us that the tortoise had already come before us and that he was giving a drum meant for all of us." A loud murmur spread through the crowd. He continued, "But the tortoise kept the drum for his own personal use. Anyways, the king gave us another special drum." Immediately, he beat the drum. Lots of food and drinks appeared, more than enough for every animal. The animals shouted with joy. They enjoyed themselves and had enough to take home. Meanwhile, the tortoise had gathered his family in his compound. He then brought the drum and beat it immediately. Mosquitoes burst out. Stinging ants crawled everywhere. Biting flies filled the air. The tortoise screamed. His family were crying. The ants attacked them. They all ran, crying and scratching their bodies. On another meeting day, all the animals gathered under the great iroko tree. The tortoise slowly came forward with shame written all over his face. He apologized to the animals for his greed and betrayal and told them everything that happened after he hid the special drum for himself alone. "I have learnt my lesson," the tortoise said sadly. "What is meant for all should never be kept by one." The animals looked at one another. Then the lion stepped forward and said, "We forgive you." All the animals forgave and accepted the tortoise again, and peace returned to the forest. From that day on, they shared the blessings of the drum together and lived happily ever after. My wonderful viewers, this is the end of my tale today. Let's learn that greed may bring quick gain, but in the end, it leads to shame and loneliness. If you enjoyed this story, kindly subscribe, like and share so you won't miss more interesting tales from me. Until my next tale, bye for now.